Okay, it's 7 p.m. Let's bring this Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. The first thing we need to do is swear in our newly appointed council, our member, Michelle Parsons, who served us the last year, but now have been appointed through council for another term. And then as well as Mr. Hopper, who is our council representative for the year. He was appointed by council in our meeting when I was on the 7th, I believe. So if we could stand for the oath, I think I have the oath in front of you guys. We are now a full commission. Lauren, can you take roll, please?
Everyone is present.
Great, thank you. We have time set aside now for guest comments, if anybody wants to come up and comment. All right. Zoning Commission, you have the minutes from November 2025. Are there any questions about these minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Seth motion, Michelle second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, other business tonight. Mr. Hollis is here tonight to present to the commission a concept for 42 West Columbus Street. Let me just emphasize, this is our first discussion on this. This starts a process, and we know what that process is. We just went through that here recently with Arrowhead. But tonight is an opportunity for Mr. Hollis to share the concept that he has for the plot and answer questions and whatever. I assume whatever you hear, you'll take back and consider that. So I invite you up to the podium over here, Mr. Hollis. And while you approach, I just want to make a couple of comments. Mr. Hollis, I know that you received a demolition permit, but what I want to make sure that we understand is those things are tied also to the development plan. We have not approved the development plan, so if it's okay with you, we would not like you to move forward with anything until.
Oh yeah, we have no intention of demolishing the building until we figure out exactly what we're going to do with the property. Okay. We pulled the permit ahead of time because we're just getting all of our ducks in a row.
Sure. The other thing I just want to stress is the plan has not gone through engineering yet, so that will be a step that we have to do in addition 100%. To the work that we do here tonight. So, all right, with that, I'll turn it over to you and let you present.
All right. Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. My name's Matt Hollis, and I am the owner of 42 West Columbus Street here in Galena, Ohio. And so tonight what I'm hoping to do is just kind of talk a little bit about my development concept and what we would like to do with the property. But before I dive into all that, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I was lucky enough, I married my high school sweetheart. We live over on Miller Paul Road, not too far, just outside of the village. Father of 3 kids. I got an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and then crazy enough that we've got a 7-month-old too, so she keeps us young. And professionally, I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, but as a profession day-to-day, I'm an entrepreneur. I've started and ran several businesses, as well as sold a number of those companies as well. Predominantly, the largest one that I operated was a software company that helped Fortune 500 groups manage their waste recycling, ESG reporting, and ultimately get to zero waste. And we were successful in getting, a number of locations for companies like Whole Foods and Cinemark Theaters and Red Robin Restaurants to a true zero waste status. So take a lot of pride in that. So ever since I was young, I've been a car enthusiast, and so I've had a significant passion around classic automobiles. My neighbor was a collector, my dad was a mechanic, and so I got into them from a very early age. And so on the side, one of the things that I've been doing for a long time is basically curating classic cars for people from a professional status, more of a hobby passion type of a business. And and I've decided that I kind of want to try to take that business to the next level. And so I started looking for facilities that could help me house that business. And that's what led me to 42 West Columbus Street. And I purchased that property in 2023. I think it was May of 2023, with the intent to try to figure out what to do with it, to see if I could come up with something to house that concept. When I bought the property, we had 2 kids. We now have 3, so I got a little busy, and unfortunately just had to let it sit on the shelf for a little while. So what I did is, in order to come up with a development concept, I sat down with Matt and had a couple informal meetings to say, what's the process look like to go before the Zoning and Planning Commission? And what I was alerted to is there's a significant amount of background on this property already today. And so I did a public records request, and then I came into the office and I dove into all of the archives. I was given a thumb drive and about a half-inch thick piece of documents when I bought the property, but there were a number of holes in what I had. So essentially came in, Matt and Tom were kind enough to lead me to the file drawers and help me figure out exactly where everything is on this property. And so from what I've been able to put together of the history of the property, there was a development plan that was originally proposed to the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2007 for a drive-through restaurant where Kingfisher Cape, which is Coldwater Consulting, that little house there, was a residential house. They were going to turn it into a drive-through and then add an additional 2,100 square feet of retail. They then, in February of 2008, pivoted that plan. The original plan was never approved because they made so many changes to it that it never went before the Zoning Commission. So in 2008, they came together with a new plan, and that new plan was 6,100 square feet of retail and restaurant space on what is the combined property, my lot at 42 West Columbus and then also the lot at 46 West Columbus Street. So that plan, I think some of the keynotes about that, there were a number of divergences in that plan that I think are required to make the site useful. But ultimately, they were looking at creating 7 on-site parking spots, 3 public parking spots, and then had several divergences for driveway location, pavement location, et cetera. So that plan was approved in 2008. Their timing, maybe not impeccable, right? And so from what I can gather in the notes that I have, there was a number of signs posted for lease. They did not garner the tenant interest that they needed in order to proceed, and so the property was never further developed or was not further built. Then what happened is in 2012, there was an amended development plan that was filed by the exact same owner who owned both. Both were combined at that point in time. They came before the commission and said, hey, we would like to split this property. Here's a survey, here's a plat of what we're trying to do. We've got parcel 1, we've got parcel 2. And the keynotes about that development plan was that parcel 1 would remain as the house that it is, but ultimately become a professional office or commercial, I think it was an office space. And then parcel 2 would be developed into 3,585 square feet of retail or supposed restaurant. That plan was subsequently approved in May of 2012, as well as a separate development plan for the Kingfisher Cape building. The two were really kind of jointly combined and approved. From what I can tell, so since then, no building was ever constructed on the site. So from what I can piece together, I think, and I'm here tonight to try to validate that amended development plan is still surviving and approved on the site. And I think there's some question on my end. There was a letter in 2018 from a Mayor Hopper at the time validating that. I didn't want to single you out, but I did have a letter from 2018. Someone was interested in buying the property, and you did write them a letter to let them know and confirm that an existing development plan was in place and approved on that site. I think the key note about the timing of that letter was it was beyond the 4-year expiration, which is typical of a plan. I think there's also some question in my mind when you read Article 5 of the zoning resolution that was passed in 2021. I unfortunately couldn't find the 2001 zoning ordinance to see what was in place at the time, but when you read that, there's also an article about if something's not done within 3 years, then it expires. But, the plat was filed and recorded, which is a condition that then allows that plan to survive. So part of what I'm hoping to gather tonight later on is some clarity around, is that approved and existing and surviving, and so thus I am filing an amended plan? Or is that completely dead in the water and I'm starting over with an original plan? And that's, something that we'll look at. So as of that last plan, if nothing else, all of that background that I provided in the appendix with the copies that I supplied, at least gives you an understanding of the history of the site, what's been approved, what's been thought through, what's been conceptual. So ultimately, my dream is to create an automotive studio. And I call it that because it really is an area where people can come and get excited about cars. I want to ignite passion about vehicles. I'm very passionate about them. By curating the right vehicles for the right enthusiast is essentially what we do. And so in order to do that, I started polling some of my customers and some of the people that I've worked with before, and I said, if we were going to design a headquarters facility, help me understand what would really resonate with everyone. And the overwhelming feedback that I've gotten is that we should design it to be a vintage service station from the 1950s. So I did a significant amount of research on vintage service stations. I actually bought architectural plans to an old Texaco to make sure that whatever I did was completely historically accurate. And I found that there is significant branding from the Gulf Oil brand here in Ohio. And Gulf Oil's colors, I think, resonate a lot better with the village, being navy blue, a nice orange and white, rather than some of the greens, reds, and maybe out there colors of some of the other oil companies. And so ultimately, what I'm hoping to do is create this vintage service station in a quaint New England style on the lot. The building's about 1,040 square feet. It would contain 2 service garages with glass garage doors, but we're not going to do any mechanical work on any of the vehicles. We detail them, we clean them, but I'm really bad with my hands. And so my expertise is in the keyboard and Microsoft. So essentially, though, but we also want it to be a space where we can put a couple of vehicles up on a lift, and so that when a customer's coming in to see their vehicle, they can see underneath of it, they can see around it. And the type of vehicles that we curate are like one that I just did a couple of months ago. A gentleman from Sarasota, Florida was looking for a 1950s Jaguar XK150 drop head coupe. It's a $125,000 car that we procured in France. He flew over, saw it, test drove it, fell in love with it. We imported it with him. We're not talking about fixer-upper beater type vehicles. And that vehicle in particular I never touched it. I unfortunately didn't get to actually drive it. But that's the type of studio that we're looking for. And so ultimately, I'm looking at positioning the building. I hired an architect, Ron Dan from Sunbury, Ohio. I also engaged Nathan Brack from Nathan Harrington from Brack Engineering as a civil engineer to help me come up with the best way to lay this out and to make it make sense. And so what we came together is with the site plan. And the site plan that Matt can put on the screen for you is going to show that there is a 1,040 square foot building that is tucked all the way up near the Coldwater Consulting building. There you go. With the ability with the 2 garage bays and then the office space. It's a very simple building, but again, it will be identical to that 1950s vintage service station look. We're looking to finish it in all brick. We would be painting it then to reflect that, and then all of the signage would be done consistent with the Galena style with overhead lighting, etc. So you'll notice here that in order to gain access to the site, unfortunately, when this lot split went through, what we lost for the person, me, the 42 West Columbus Street parcel, is the ability to access it from the rear. So currently there's a small strip of land that is behind Coldwater Consulting's facility that accesses via, and that's Norm Fountain's land, that gets him to the space behind his building. But Coldwater Consulting owns the significant chunk of land to our rear border, which she has said is her green space. She and I get along great. That's her green space, and she's not looking to eliminate any of that green space. They would like to keep their patio and the tree that they have back there. And so in order to get any type of access from the rear, I would have to consume over half of Mr. Fountain's parking. And in my brief conversations with him, he's not a fan of me accessing anything on his site. And so essentially what I am proposing is that instead we come at this from West Columbus Street, and we put in a driveway along West Columbus Street. What I found in the zoning code is that you have to be within 100 feet of any intersection, and we have 2 intersections. We have Middle Street, Columbus Street, and then we have West Street and West Columbus Street. And ironically, it is exactly 200 feet. So we put the driveway as close as we could possibly get it to 100 feet and still feasibly make it make sense. In doing this, we are deleting 2 public parking spaces along West Columbus Street, and I don't take that lightly. But in order to get access through the driveway with the required 20-foot width, that is the place that we ended up putting it. Then on site, what you'll notice is that the zoning code requires that I have 8 parking spaces for a retail facility of 1,040 square feet. And inside of the development plan in print that I provided for you guys, we do have 8 parking spaces, but my intent is to consume at least 5 of those for vehicles that might be on display. I don't envision that we're going to have a significant number of vehicles on display, but every now and then we do get some really unique late model stuff that can sit outside. Most of what we deal in typically needs to be indoors, and we intend to use lifts to keep those indoors. But I want to reserve the right to have that as display space on a nice day to pull something out or to park something there. And so you'll see that what I'm requesting is I looked to the prior development plan. It had 5,285 square feet with a zoning variance for 5 parking spaces to be created. So I used the same pro rata of 1,040 square feet to create 1 parking space. And then I took the 2 that were deleted on West Columbus Street and I added 2 more into my lot so that we could come up with a total for 3 parking spaces that's there. So, and I'll wrap it up because I know I'm just shooting so much at you. So long story short, in order to make this, this development a reality, essentially we need 3 different divergences. One is for the parking, one is for us to be able to take asphalt pavement to the lot lines, and then the third one is for the driveway being located 95 feet from the intersection instead of 100 feet. I do want to point out one more thing relative to the parking, is that in all of the research on this concept, what I found out is that Zor developers, the original owners, actually did a significant amount of work in conjunction with the village in order to create additional public parking. The first of which is they reached out to the city of Columbus. They identified some land that the city of Columbus could provide Galena parking for. That parking did not exist as of the aerial images that I found prior to their development plans being filed. They then turned it over to Mayor Hopper and the team who brought it across the finish line and actually secured 7 new parking spaces on that land, which is just south of the property, just off of West Columbus Street there. Additionally, then they provided a concept, a very detailed concept in their original development plan that showed how parking could be added along Harrison Street, and then they made a financial commitment. I don't know if they ever paid, but we would honor, to bring that parking to fruition. And now that parking, there are 9 spaces there, and according to the research that was done, I think significant additional parking could be added there as well. So all in, this project, because of the developers, work with the village and prior work there, they've created 16 additional public parking spaces, and yet they never brought the concept to reality. So those parking spaces have been created without any additional burden from the site. And I believe that the concept that we're presenting today is very quaint, very historic, and also being only open 4 to 8 hours a week and by appointment only will have a very, very light need on the infrastructure of the village. So with that, what kind of feedback or high-level questions?
Before we go there, can we just, or do we have the renderings of the actual building? We can throw up here? No. It's in our packet. Oh, I'd just love to folks be able to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
I have
those are
them
in
on
the
my
binders.
laptop. But.
Yeah, no worries. I think you spent a lot of time on parking. At least from my point of view, that is a critical issue because it's already congested down that area. You've seen the investments that we've been making to try to, improve the safety on the square with stop signs and blah, blah, blah. And I think about losing 2 parking spaces. And then your explanation of using parking spaces within your private parking, I'll just say this, like when I drive my garage queen around, you know where I park it?
Yeah, way out there.
As far away as I can get it from all the traffic.
Yes.
So is it really realistic that you would have, anybody and everybody parking in your private lot?
I'll be quite frank and honest and candid, I was never envisioning those to be public. I was just adding 2 additional customers.
Where are they? So where exactly are the 2 added spots?
So if you look at the very top there are 3 parallel parking spaces.
They're not public, though.
They're not public.
Okay,
They will
okay.
be for customers.
So we can't count those as added spots?
Correct.
Okay.
Kind
Let me throw another thing.
Well, they are added parking. So, I'm reducing the amount of variance that I need for my customers. but it is not a public parking
Got it,
space.
got
So
it.
I don't want to say it's not.
Fair enough,
parking.
fair enough. We're losing 2 public spaces.
Correct.
We're not replacing those anywhere.
Correct.
Okay. One thought going through my head is up Harrison Street. We already did a little bit of work up there. It's been prepped to be paved. We could probably add another 8 or 10 spaces up there. I'm not saying I'm just my opinion of things.
We'd love to help contribute to that.
You committed $5,000. In today's dollars, it's about $7,000.
Happy to adjust.
You know, that's one option. The other thought, and you brought this up too, and I was thinking about this earlier today, it'd be much better to have you come in off of West Street than off of Columbus Street. And when I did a GIS overview of the 3 properties, Fountain and Coldwater, people are parking back there now, and it's not paved.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I would think if maybe we made the offer, you made the offer with the owner to pave his back lot, that he'd give you access through there.
Are you meaning, when you say make the offer, are you saying make the offer to Mr. Fountain?
Yeah.
I have made numerous offers to Mr. Fountain.
Okay. He's like
I
shaking
don't
his
think that's
head
gonna
back here.
happen.
That's not gonna happen?
That,
Let us have the conversation, though. I appreciate your history
Yeah.
with them, but
Yeah. I'd be
Yeah.
happy to have a conversation with you.
yeah, the
yeah.
discussion that I've had with him is that he is vehemently opposed to any concept that I want to develop on the property. And I did offer to purchase his property from him.
Maybe the Coldwater people.
So
I'm just
Coldwater-
thinking West Street would be a much better entrance point for the village and for traffic flow and everything else.
So there's not
yeah.
enough room in the land behind Cold. So Kristen and I turned this cube together.
Yeah.
There's not enough room on her property behind her building for any type of access and turning radius in order to get into the rear of the lot. And again, not saying, and I'd be happy to have that conversation with you and Mr. Fountain if you'd
Yeah.
like, Mayor Jeff, no problem there. But in my conversations with him, I actually got to the point where I asked him if I could buy his property, and I thought maybe I could convert that into the showroom right there on the square. And he gave me numbers that, in my opinion, were out of line with market conditions. Yeah. And so, long story short, Kristen and I looked at it every which way that we possibly could as well. And there's just no way to get access from West Street because of Mr. Fountain. She also is currently parking in her green space, and she let me know that that is something that was more of an informal arrangement because she was a customer with Mr. Fountain, and I don't know that that's the case anymore. And so they're supposed to be abandoning that.
I'll tell you what, I think maybe I'll have the conversation with him.
Go
And
right
I'll
ahead.
report back that he said no in a, pretty stressful way or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have him say no, but at least I talked to him.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%.
yeah.
And perhaps what we need to do is, again, maybe we can revisit, like you said, there are people parking. Maybe we need to look at West Street again. And maybe there's some way that we can try to create some public parking on West Street to make up for what's getting lost on West Columbus. It really would be my desire to enter from West Columbus. I think it's a much easier flow and whatnot for what it is that we're doing. But nonetheless, I'm open to exploring all options.
Turn it over to.
if you have a comment, you can come to the.
Tom Hopper, 275 Harrison. The current development plan, which applies to both properties, so it's in effect because 46 development of the plan is already in effect, and some of the things that were related to the 42 were put into effect. So it's a working development plan that's there now. But that plan envisioned, and if you look on the 2012 plan, I'm sure it lays out 5 spots along West Street that the 46 owner was not happy about, but that was part of what was done on that.
Yep.
And I can tell you that Krista and I had that conversation. Well, if nothing ever happens over here, you don't have to do it, but understand when the other property gets developed, these 5 spots can go in because your plan that's on 46 says you have to provide that area for the parking for the overall property, which at the time was a combined plan for the 2 properties that allowed them to be split, and that was one of the conditions that was attached.
Where on West Street are you talking specifically?
There's-
Can you show, like,
Well, yeah. And if you dig out the old 12 plan, I believe it has a very detailed plan on how these spots are to be laid out. Yes, they're along there, and I think there's like 2 or 3 parallel, and then a couple pull-ins as you got, because the further back you get along the property, the further the street and the building diverge, and so
It widens.
when it widens, then you can go in with like a couple head-in spots at an angle, I think. So I think there's a total of 5 over there.
Yeah, they were supposed to add 5 on-street parking
Parking
for
for-
on-site. But those were supposed to be public.
Those would be public spots.
I think that's where some of the confusion for the parking spots were.
They never got created
That
because there was no
development never
need-
happened.
It's just,
Right.
was that north
Right.
of Fountain's entrance?
Well, south of the entrance.
South of it. It would have been south of Fountain Entrance.
Yeah, right. It never,
So then in that case, if I built those 5 spaces, the reality is I'm deleting 2, but I'm adding 5, right?
Yeah, it's going to be just north of the identified parking lot entrance for Fountain Insurance was going to be at least one of them.
okay, well, somewhere along, I don't, it's been years since I've looked at the plan, but you can look on the 2012 plan and it'll show them laid out.
So this is the Fountain Street or Fountain Insurance
No,
property
that's
boundary.
the loading zone.
That's the
Yeah.
loading zone.
That's, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I
Yeah,
know.
there's a diagram of,
I found the loading zone.
okay, there is a diagram of these 5 spots that is in the 2012 paperwork. Okay, so Matt should have that somewhere. So that's in there, and that still is attached. That was part of the condition when 46 was allowed to be split. And Coldwater, but that was one of the conditions, and understand, Kristen and I talked, and Kristen doesn't like that, and I said, well, and if nothing ever happens, it's never there, but this is one of the things you're gonna have to accept that as part of the deal to allow the property to be split, because the 2 properties have to supply things for the overall properties, which then would survive your split. That's why the development plan is in effect, because
So is that the 5 spaces that 2012 plan is referencing then?
that,
I believe so.
5 spaces.
Because there's 3 sets of parking areas talked about in the old development plan. One are those 5 on-site parkings that's going to be on West Street. The one that's at just south of the intersection of Columbus and Front Street and West Street intersection. And then, yes, and then the $5,000 donation for us to do something to increase the parking on Harrison Street.
right. And so just to clarify a couple things about that, the lot that was built on Front Street, on City of Columbus property, Zor developers didn't do that. They did not do that. That was discussed, but they never did anything. So
And then
I
that-
can tell you, I got that worked out working with Columbia Gas, who used it as a site to do a boring under the reservoir on a huge big gas line. And then Columbia Gas, one of my things was, well, when you restore this, you really need to just make a nice parking lot for us. And so we worked with Columbus, and actually the parking lot was much bigger when it was installed. It was like for 20 spots, and Columbus had a fit and made them remove the parking lot down to the size that's there today. But that was installed by Columbia Gas after a series of negotiations with me. Store developers had nothing literally to do with that, just to clarify
I found
that.
some emails where they reached out and initiated a lease conversation. I thought.
And that's as far as their input went. So,
You want to also discuss about the Harrison Street parking spots?
okay, the Harrison Street parking, I know Zach showed me some stuff, and you're referring to the parking that was built just north of the bridge. There's 9 spots there. That has nothing to do with sort of.
That is part of the Sunbury Bridge,
Right,
Sunbury
right.
Road Bridge reconstruction.
Right, when the Sunbury Road Bridge then, that was widened out, and there was extra blacktop when things were done, and it was put in there, and then eventually the village moved in and put line stripes in.
Just happened to pave it.
It just happened to
just
get
happened to-
paid because there was an extra truck or whatever.
happened to get
Oh, just
sprayed.
put it here and roll it
I
out.
was missing the institutional knowledge.
Correct.
I just
So,
saw these
right,
guys
so,
do that
right.
and a before and after, and I'm
Right.
going, well, this must be what this was.
Right, and what you'll notice is also since 2012, there's been huge changes on the uses of the other structures downtown.
Yes, the municipal building is no longer.
Right.
We
Yeah.
used to meet in the municipal building, which is now the Coffee Vault, which was the Galena Vault, right
between,
after
yes.
we got done with it.
Correct.
And that was a knick-knack shop, which then lasted, what, like 18 to 24 months?
Yeah, and then that
it
left,
became the
and then it
Coffee
became the
Vault,
Coffee
which is
Vault.
now a restaurant.
And then
HER Realtors.
HER Realtors left, and that
And
became
that's
Tony's.
Tony's.
So you have 2 new restaurant uses down there. So
And then
the
you
7 spots
yeah.
and the 9 spots are probably even insufficient for what's already there, but the uses of those have been sort of sucked up by other things when this property never got
Can I ask a
developed.
question?
Yes.
On next to Coldwater, which is when you turn. What's the variances on that to put like maybe parking spots right there next to Coldwater?
That's the ones we're talking about.
Yes.
And so you're saying, yeah, so I'm just trying to clarify. I'm listening.
They're shown on the
Okay.
2012 plan.
Hold on. Just so I can clarify. I'm old and was a blonde. Okay, so my point is if you go down, if you turn there, Coldwater's right there. What they're saying when they split the lots, that one of the agreements was they could put parking there, right? Which is close to the building, but it's an office building. It's not like a home.
Right.
So my question is just clearly, instead of going through all the history, can we actually put how many spaces on that road?
If we, from what I've seen on the GIS, right? So I had seen an architectural plan when I went through my history of these spaces on West Street. They were nothing head-in that I remember. It was all parallel. But I couldn't find anywhere that anything was tied to it, so I just assumed it was a random record.
Got it.
But in that, what I saw is that if Village of Galena is willing to give up a portion of the right of way, then with that and some area from that property, which I would have to talk to Kristen about, although maybe she doesn't.
Public property and part of the
If it's in the provision to split the lots,
Right.
there's no
It
choice.
was in there.
It's not a question anymore.
So, but anyways, there is enough space to put a parallel spot. You only need 9 foot of depth plus an additional 4 foot of depth for a sidewalk.
And Jeff, how many parking spaces can we put in there?
So this is the 08. So you can see right here, it's got 3 of them.
Yes, this is
on
what
West
I
Street.
remember.
So this is West Street.
No, I'm not talking about West Street. I'm talking next to Coldwater.
That is,
So this
That
strip
is
right
West
here
Street.
would be where Coldwater is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This was an
This,
original
this is
development
the,
comment.
this is
Got
the
it, got it.
2008 version.
Yes.
But these parking spots, I'm assuming, are where 3 of the 5 would be placed.
And that's what I saw on the architectural rendering was a parallel parking spaces. I didn't see any.
I think there's,
looked
2
at
that
them
are.
I
right
haven't
there.
seen the
right.
full
So I can
2012
go back
No, no, I
plan.
get
Right,
it.
and those
Can
are
we go all the
partially
way
in the
further?
public right of way, and they're meant to
So
be
I'm assuming
public
this was a
parking
parking
spots.
space. So
But
they-
the spaces I'm deleting.
this would probably be classified
Right.
as the driveway.
So, but remember though, in the
46
08 and the
Got it.
12 plan. there are
Let's
no
have one, let's
immediate
try to
public
have one
parking.
discussion, please. Let's try to have one
Okay.
discussion so we're
So we
recording.
would add 3 parking spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might be able to add more. I mean, the plan
It
said
depends.
5. I don't know where the.
It depends on how it maps out.
Correct.
This is, I think, drawing us back to some of my opening comments. This still has to go through engineering. This is a perfect thing to discuss with engineering, what the possibilities are and where. So we make sure we have the easements correct, we have all that depth correct, and all the other things correct.
So can we pull it up to a very high level for me?
Yeah.
Like, is it one of these things that, Matt, if you're going to delete 2 spaces, you need to create 2 spaces, or if you're gonna delete 2, you need to create X? Like, what's
Yeah.
the guidance when I go to engineering and I say, hey, I wanna make sure that I'm creating public parking to account for the spaces that I need to gain access to the site? How many am I looking at?
So the minimum is to replace what we're taking out.
Okay.
As a friend of Galena, I'd say, how many more can we get?
100%.
Yeah, so,
100%.
yeah, because you know, you're gonna be a business down there, you know, it's already congested, so it's to your benefit and everybody's benefit down there to add more spaces. Yeah, so, and I said, the other option is when you think about Harrison Street and
Well, why not do both?
the spaces are going up to some point and then we've got already gravelled out and leveled out the pavement, you just, it needs pavement and striping to get another 8 or 10
Nothing says the
spaces
new
there.
parking spots have to be on West Street.
Right.
So if we find another spot, we could effectively just add that.
So I guess
Into the
that's my
development plan.
question is that we know that Harrison Street can handle another 8 if I financially commit to do that, which I'm already bound to, because it sounds like Zor was not responsible for the 9 that are put in.
Zor did not put the 9
I-
in, no.
I would consider that on top of the 5,000 that is expected to be.
Okay,
done.
so that.
Yes.
that-
So it'd be- it would-
Well, can I push back though? That 5,000 was to build parking, and if they never paid it and it never got built, but I'm coming in and I'm gonna build it, couldn't I mean, 5,000.
Yes.
Was,
But instead of adding it 2, shouldn't
So since in the development plan originally, they're two separate items, I would look at it, let's just say the 8 right now, because that's the number we're using. You would pay for whatever the 8 spots would cost, and then give the 5,000 or however much, and then we'll do whatever we can with that 5,000. That's how I'm looking at them, because they're individual lines in the development plan.
Okay. How did we get to me creating 8 spots? If I'm deleting 2, how did we get to 8? I heard him say 8 was possible, but now I'm committing to 8. Not that
Well, I'm just using that as the number. It's probably whatever number we are able to agree upon.
I think that's
We were
part of
just
the-
using the number 8 at the time.
Understood. All right, that's all I needed to get to.
I think that's also part of the calculations from the,
Oh,
from
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
retail.
Because this is technically retail.
Yep.
Yes. So then if I need 8 and I'm creating 3 for myself, then I'm at a deficit of 5. And then if I'm deleting 2, add 2 more, that's 7. And then I want to be a friend of the
Yeah.
right? So then let me ask this question. If I fund that parking on Harrison Street, do we need to explore the West Street option with Kristen, or do we leave that be, or what happens with that?
I think that can be handled internally if needed.
If it was in on condition of splitting the lot, because I have properties that I own that I split lots, it's already there. I mean, she agreed to that when she split it, if that's the way it's been zoned.
But you have a different use this time than was, so you have different parking demands for the public than you did under the previous.
I think we can work this out. I mean, I think
So the
we're all,
West Street
we're
parking
fluid
may
right
not be
now.
necessary.
Numbers are here. I do love your concept. I do. Okay, I'm excited.
Oh, no. This was helpful. I wish I would have called you a week ago, It's like. There you go. Well, now we know. So yeah, what other feedback do you guys have?
Can we,
Questions,
can we go
comments,
through all the
thoughts?
variances real quick? Is this on? Okay. Can you walk us through the
Yeah.
other Article 6 variances and your point of view on those things? I think there's only 3 here, so. if
Yeah,
you wouldn't
so
mind.
from what I can tell, and
Page-
again,
I'm sorry, page 14 for everybody.
yeah, hang on, I'll just open it up and get there if you don't mind. Okay, so from what I'm looking through and what I've realized, there are 3 divergences that we're requesting. The first divergence is the location of the driveway on West Columbus Street being 95 feet from an intersection instead of 100 feet. Are there questions, comments, thoughts, or concerns about that?
I would say my only comment or concern as part of that requirement is that 300 feet from the intersection has to be unobstructed sight line. So if we're now cutting into the parking area and we're having people pull out between vehicles that are already parked, is that considered an obstructed sight line to get into the road?
And it's a good point and some with the engineering team to look at. I was also, you bring that up, Allison, there's been a couple of folks that have said to me, now that we put the 4-way stop down there at West Street, if you're coming from the Sunbury side towards West Street into that 4-way stop, if people are parking in that last parking space, you can't necessarily even see the stop sign.
That is valid.
So we should probably eliminate that space as part of this whole thing. Yeah.
So what I will tell you is in my discussions with the civil engineer, there is a significant elevation change between the street and the top of the lot, and he's working on preliminary grading. Depending on how that grading goes, we should be able to maintain the 300 feet, which is why we did not list it as a divergence, based on the fact that, you're going to go up a hill in order to get into the property. Understood. I will take that back. That's great feedback. I'll take that back and see what that resolves to. Other thoughts, comments, concerns on the driveway?
I think we've talked through it pretty extensively on the driveway. I'm just concerned about the congestion in that spot already. I know you got to get in and out any other way. We could find a way into that lot. I would love to explore that, and Mayor Cannell, you already talked about doing that. So, but it is a concern to me.
I agree with that. And also, it would be a precedent on West Columbus Street. We don't currently have any driveway cuts as you're coming through the village on West Columbus Street.
Yeah, there is a
Okay.
driveway right at the intersection. When I've been parking there and just watching, just to try to take data, just to see who all's coming in, how many vehicles,
Is that to
et
a
cetera.
private, is that to the private house that's next door? Oh, okay.
But it's also where the garbage truck comes. It's also where a number of other delivery vehicles and other types of things turn in on that driveway as well.
I guess coming off of Middle Street would create another variance, wouldn't it? Because you don't have the 100 feet.
Yeah, I proposed that originally. My desire was to come in off of Middle Street because I think it was actually a lot easier to accommodate. But in talking with Tom, he said that, Matt, because there's just absolutely no way. It's way too close to the intersection and the stop sign. And so you wouldn't ever have enough ability to turn right out of there. So then Matt proposed, really great thought, of a right hand only and then an exit, so that the one coming off of Columbus Street wouldn't be able to go bi-directionally. But again, Tom shot that down and said that, that's a no-go.
What about a driveway closer to Middle Street, but not on, like right there where the stop sign is? Because you wouldn't have obstruction at that point.
Yeah, I am totally open to moving the drive wherever we can get it placed, anywhere on the lot, and I'd be happy to look at it.
I think closer to the
when I
stop-
was sitting with Tom, this was the only one that he went, okay, that meets the.
I think close to the
criteria.
stop sign and where the bump is. I mean, I think that's a little too much going on there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's it for the,
All right, so then my takeaway from the driveway is I'll work with my civil engineer to establish the 300-foot sight lines to make sure that we have
Yeah.
that. And then, Jeff, your takeaway is you're going to speak with Mr. Fountain
Right.
about some type of.
and then the other takeaway is I think there ought to be a joint meeting with our engineering team, KEM.
Yeah,
You, Tom, KEM, and Matt.
they were there. KEM and Tom and Matt and
Yeah.
I were all
And
there when
I'd probably reintroduce a couple of the thoughts that have come up tonight, just to validate.
Yeah,
If
I'd be
that's a
happy to
problem
do
or Not a
that.
problem, okay. The next one is the zero lot lines of the
Yeah.
property. Can you explain what you mean by zero?
Yeah. So my intention, in order to get the amount of parking that I am able to get in there, I intend to take the asphalt all the way to the lot line, meaning that I'm looking at a 0-foot setback of the asphalt on the lot line. There is one point, and actually, if I can walk over to the screen, I'll point that out.
There's a mic up there, if you can turn it on and speak into the mic for the recording.
100%. Happy Wednesday. So there is a point here where the building will actually touch the lot line. If you look right here, this specific corner is looking at a 0-foot setback here. And then the architect has shown the asphalt as plus or minus 1 foot, but I'm asking to go to 0 so that when we get the survey, we can make sure that we are maximizing the amount of space we have inside that lot. Unfortunately, on a lot of this size, 2 feet makes a significant difference. So that's what I'm looking for there.
Do you think, however, if we're talking about adding parking spaces outside of the lot, like West Street, that there could be adjustments within the lot to shrink it a little bit because now you have parking, but it's on-street parking rather than on-lot parking. And then that would give you a little bit of space as a buffer against the Fountain property and anywhere else.
Yeah, 100%. Personally, I would be happy to eliminate all of my on-site parking. Tom didn't think that would fly as variance for 0, so that's why I put 3 spaces in there, but I have no problem with that.
I don't think the previous amendment or development plan is at a 0 variance right now, right? It's like less than 15, but I couldn't find where it said 0.
The building itself is not at a 0, you are correct, but the concrete is at a 0. So they've
Oh.
actually concreted all the way up to Mr. Fountain's building as a sidewalk passage. Yeah, as a sidewalk passage. So essentially what I'm proposing which it sounds like perhaps that plan is in existence. But if it is, I'm just proposing to do the same thing, but with asphalt instead of concrete. But I am happy to adjust it if we can reduce the amount of parking.
I think
via
that's worth
variance.
looking into.
Okay, yeah, because then I could get some more green space on the lot
Right.
too.
Right.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
I think this other variance we've already talked about quite a bit.
Oh, yeah,
which
the
is
parking one. Yeah, and I think I can take that and run with it.
A lot of running.
There's some other questions that I wanted to ask. Okay, so I guess just for my official clarification, the amended development plan from May 9th, 2012 is active and in place. Is that correct?
I think
I
that's
would
a-
like to have Ken
That's
verify
a
that.
question. Yeah, I think we're going to have to go back to our legal,
Okay.
because in our current zoning code, obviously, it's three years and it starts again, right? And I believe even in the 2001, but maybe Zach you have that in front of you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a copy of it. I was looking for that.
Yeah, I found my copy.
Way to go.
Actually, when was the? Yeah, I was. Yeah. October 24th. So I was 6 months old.
Literally. Oh my gosh.
That's
I
when
love
the-
it.
What do you got in the 2001?
Okay, so what I didn't actually find something that talks about a time limit for a amended zoning plan, an amendment development plan that does not involve changing zoning districts. I found basically the exact block of text that's in a current one, but it's specific for if the application is going from an FR1, which is from Berkshire, to a planned commercial, which is what this district is. And then I found stuff talking about the amendment process for development plans, but it didn't have any hard deadlines for it goes void. So I would
So
say,
if I fast forward it, we need an opinion.
I would say get Ken.
Okay, all right.
The,
You also have the issue, Jeff, that this development, parts of this development plan have been in use since 2012.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
because
it was, the development
Yeah.
plan was on both properties together. Everything was in effect on 46.
because the
And
So is it,
both both
And if
parcels
it's-
were active at the, or were split at the same time, and this development plan affects both of them.
And I will say the 2012 that I included in the appendix is predicated on a lot split. And so part of me does feel that since that was recorded and filed, then this must be valid.
Well-
Otherwise, if you repeal it, then you have the problem of, are you
have
repealing
multiple
the lot
owners of the
split?
same property?
the plan was on the whole parcel, the split came
Yes.
after.
Correct,
There's
Yeah.
contingent on the development plan.
correct.
I don't want to pretend to be a lawyer, it's never, but
Get Ken involved.
we'll get you an answer.
That's what I just need
Yeah.
to know if I need to put amended or
Understand,
original on the
understand.
cover page.
You're going to go through the same process
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. to
Yeah.
me. Okay. We've
Just one more comment on
Oh, yeah.
that. When I look at page 4, it talks about the development plan from May 2012. What did I just see? Oh, point C 2I, it says parcel 1, which is 46 West Street, would be handled under a separate amended development plan by Kingfisher, submitted on April 11th, 2012. So, which that leads me to believe they are two separate plans.
You are correct. So there were two plans that were filed at the exact same time. One for Kingfisher, which I did have a copy of, but didn't see anything relevant in it, but I'd be happy to supply back to you guys. And then one from Zor. The one from Zor specifically references the lot split. The one from Kingfisher only references the ability to change it into an office use. And what threw me was that the one from Kingfisher, when it talks about parking, references the plan from Zor, and I
Yeah.
didn't see any.
It's just
Plan.
information we can share with Ken.
Yeah. And I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just looking for direction. Yep.
Anything else, Seth? Zach?
On 26.20D, no.
Okay, Allison?
Say that again?
Anything for Allison?
Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry.
Just in general or on that one?
Just anything else you want to bring up before we let Mr. Hollis go?
Oh, just in general. Okay.
in general?
Some of the numbers are wrong for article sections.
Okay.
So on page 14, section K. So as I said previously, this is a planned commercial district.
Yes.
So it should reference Article 18 instead of Article 17, because this is not a PMUD district. Article 29 is signage, signs and billboards. So far, I haven't seen any discussion about signs or billboards in this development.
If you reference in exhibit, you know what, I have it in front of me, it's A or B, I provide the actual concept elevations. I've read Article 29 pretty extensively, and everything that I'm designing should be in compliance with that. I have no issues if it's not making it in compliance with that. I'm not asking for any variances from signage. But if you look at the actual elevation plans of the facility, you're going to see there's a beautiful, yes, that's my hand-drawn box that says customer logo here with the lighting over top.
Okay.
And that is the only signage that
Now
I'm
I see what you're talking about.
looking to
Thank you.
propose at this point.
Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Gotta go through my sticky notes. Most of my sticky notes referred to the parking stuff.
Which I think I
That's
have a
what
good
we're
head
all
around what I
thinking
need to
about.
do.
So all of my other sticky notes are parking related.
Was there anything new in your sticky notes, parking related, that we've not discussed?
I do not believe so. Sunbury rebound.
Just making sure.
Okay, apparently I found one.
Great, bring it on.
So at the bottom of the divergences, you say, please note all three above requested divergences have been previously approved in amendment development plans for the site. And here it talks about the 8, but if you add up the numbers that were supposed to be added in the 2012 one, it talks about the 7 parking spaces on the City of Columbus land as well as the 5 on-street parking. So that would total 12. It's just
Instead of
that
8.
Yes.
Got it.
But that's just,
Oh,
it would be different than what was previously.
correct, but I reduced it pro rata to the
Yes.
square footage of what I'm proposing. So basically what I'm saying is no additional variances being asked because pro rata to the square foot, I'm asking for the same.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm happy to update and clarify that.
So I have a couple of things.
Yeah, bring it on.
Jeff brought up earlier at the very beginning the demolition of the building. And I would just like you to consider maybe seeing if there's a way to repurpose or relocate it instead of demo. And, you know, that could look like donating it to the village and we look to see what that would cost, or doing it as part of your development plan. You mentioned, I think it's section G, how you don't have enough room to help with parks and rec or anything like that. It's a small lot. You're going corner to corner with asphalt. So ways that you could help the village with their parks and recs. I envision and have for a long time that building being used. We have so many cyclists that come through this area as like a respite for cyclists where they would have, you know, tire pumps and a water station and, you know, just things that they could use if they need to do some bike maintenance along the bike path. Just to consider, and I would ask the village the same, like, is there something we can use that little building for? Just because it's been kind of a, you know, it's the center of our village for as long as I've been here, you know, so just a consideration.
So can I throw a couple things out there? So I'm all behind you. A lot of what I've done in my life, waste nothing was my mission. So a couple of things. Number one, I will absolutely donate it to the village. If you guys would like to find a way to move it, I have not been able to figure out how to do that on site, but absolutely it is 100% able to be donated, and I'm committing to donating it if you guys would like to move it to another facility or do something with it. If not, one of the things that I talked about with Tom is his desire for a drinking fountain. And so I'd like to proceed back to the screen for you for a second.
I appreciate you being open to that. And Jeff, if there's a committee to review what that might look like, I would like to be on that. I don't know what that looks like, but it should be some kind of a review and not just a, yeah, we're going to do it or no, we're not. Like people to weigh in. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, maybe it's a council review. But I would like to represent zoning on that committee.
So Zach, as the council representative, you can bring that up at
I
our
can
next
bring that
council
forward,
meeting?
yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Zach. I would say the only other note that I had to myself was just benefit to the village residents. And I appreciate that this is a passion project of yours. I worked for Nationwide for 20 years, and 8 of those years I managed the Haggerty relationship. Got to do a lot of car shows and a lot of traveling. Drove
So
a
you
lot of
get it,
classic
like it-
cars.
oh,
Yes,
yes, it's cool.
I have one in my garage.
What do you
so
have?
I have a Solstice, actually.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
2006. So they don't make them anymore.
Hold on to that. That's going to go up in value.
It's got 26,000 miles on it. So it's
What's the color?
red.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's
Yes. So I do appreciate your passion and just what that is. But when I think about the village residents and the benefit to them,
Yeah.
so we're taking our last little piece of green space that's in the village. And what you have told us this evening is that it will probably be open 4 to 8 hours a week by appointment only. So this is not a development for the village residents. Maybe they'll walk by and see a nice car in the driveway, but it's not something where they will get a lot of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not, they can't take their family out to go, like, it's not going to draw people in to spend money at the restaurants or like it just, I'm curious, you mentioned like the $150,000 vehicle earlier, like you don't envision your customers being village residents. You know, we have people that under the cloak of darkness sneak across the driveway here to grab food from a food bank because we have like food insecure. So like, I just think about that's what some of our residents are. And we're considering putting a beautiful, high-end unit there that that they won't get to really use and enjoy. Like it doesn't, they can't take their kids out and, you know, get ice cream there, or, you know, they're not going to go shopping there. You know, they're not going to spend their money there, you know, but, you know, that's just where I am. As much as I do love the cars, like I'm not going to be one of your customers, you know?
Well, but before you say that, right, let me expand on a couple of different things. The Jaguar is a great example. I'm very proud of that example. But that's not our bread and butter. Our bread and butter really is, while I do a lot of high-end cars, don't get me wrong, and those cars may never touch Galena soil and would not help the residents in any way. My number one customer is a widow, someone who's lost a husband, who's got a garage with a couple of vehicles and has absolutely no idea what they're worth or what to do with them, right? And so then I can come in and I can provide that appraisal. I can provide the service to take care of it for a small percentage, et cetera, right? And so it's not to say that I'm not marketing some cars. I mean, a lot of what I've sold is 20 to 40,000. Your Solstice well within that range, right? You know, and so, and heard, you are exactly correct. This is a passion project. I don't know how many village residents would be customers per se. What I will say is just outside of the village, from all of the demographics research that I've done, is my core market. Like my core market is absolutely here, which is why I chose that land and to buy Galena. But let me also say too, like, yes, it's open 4 to 8 hours and by appointment only, because that's what fits my lifestyle best right now and in the zone of life that I'm in. But I am designing it. You'll see the vintage gas pump in the elevations. You're going to see with the drinking fountain, with the vending machines. Like, I absolutely expect this to become a destination. That when people are driving through, they're going to say, oh my gosh, did you see? Let's go to Galena and get a picture with our Solstice, a picture with our car in front of this vintage gas station to put on Instagram, to do this with. And we're going to absolutely encourage all of that. What percentage or demographic of the village would benefit from that? I can't speak to, but I do think it's a little bit more than just, you know, a beautiful building, so to speak. The other thing is I did look at several other options for this site before honing in on the development concept that I presented. And unfortunately, the site is insanely challenging. Like to put an ice cream shop or a restaurant on that site would require some big asks from both the neighbors and from the village with respect to package, shipment deliveries, trash handling, parking, all of these, grease trap, all of these types of things that we'd have to be looking at. So I question what other concepts could legitimate, and I'm open to what other concepts could legitimately. But I think the largest takeaway is if you can think of a way that we can benefit the residents with the site, please tell me. I am open 100% to making that better, whatever it could be.
I really believe this could put Galena on the map too. I mean, I think it would be so unique that people talk about Galena and they'll go, oh my gosh, there's this, there's that, and there's this car place.
Yes, I 100%
And
agree.
I think it's a cool idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what I'll tell you is there are websites dedicated to finding vintage service stations, and there was a what do you want to call it, a high-level directive from the governor about 5 years ago that set out to demolish as many of them in the state as possible, and so there are very few that are left. And so to that point, I think you'll find that it's actually going to create a lot of traffic for the restaurants and the coffee shop here in town.
Mr. Hollis, can I just draw you back real quick? You
Yeah.
mentioned at near the beginning about the garage bays. There's not going to be any maintenance activity in there.
Correct.
You're going to be doing detailing and everything else. So you'll need water, you'll need a drainage, you'll need, right?
Yeah,
Just
correct.
make
I
sure.
will not. We may do an oil change, but not significant maintenance.
Nothing
work.
major, okay. Well, I guess for me, I mean, I appreciate you coming in and sharing your ideas with us. There's all kinds of beauty in this world, right? And there's very few things more beautiful than a 63 split window Corvette.
Right, that's so
And
true.
I, for one, will be attracted to come see what you have in that building. I'll walk by the coffee vault, grab a coffee, and come over and check it out because I just love that kind of thing. And so there's a number of people in this world that just love cars and just love to see vintage old cars or anything really, right? I go to car shows all the time. My son works for Haggerty. So,
Oh, I love Haggerty's. Haggerty's
yeah,
is great.
yeah. So he grew up knowing what his dad was all about. So I appreciate it, and I thank you for spending the time.
No,
We have
thank
some work
you.
to do. We have some work to do.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's a great concept, and I really like what you've done.
Well, thank you. Well, again, thank you guys for the time. I know this was an informal review, so I appreciate, and I only got it to you last week, so thank you. I will take all of this feedback. I will get with Matt. I'll get with Tom. We'll digest as much of it. It's my intent to, I did submit for the February meeting. It's my intent to have revisions made and back out to you before that meeting so that we can present again that night. So
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Hollis.
guys.
Appreciate it
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, team, we can wrap this up here. We are moving to the zoning report. Matt, if you'd like to go through that real quickly.
All right, sorry for the last minute change to the zoning report. I looked at the top section and realized I never updated it. So it's a little bit more concise now. Basically, everything with Miller Farm is still progressing very rapidly. If you've driven by, you can see. We are up to 3 total phases of the project in development right now. They've just started submissions on Section 3A as well. I actually have, I think, 3 more since I finished this report. So everything's going on. They're going smoothly. The construction managers are responsive. It's been a great process so far. As you know, the development plan for Arrowhead passed at the last council
Excuse me,
meeting.
before you move on, I'm sorry, Matt.
Sure.
Before you move on, I've had a couple of residents expressed concern about the entrance at Miller Farm and where the church is on Sunbury Road. Could you please take a action to see if AEP will put a light on their pole out there so we can put some light on that entrance?
Like a street light?
Yeah.
Sure, I can look at that.
I think you can go talk to Kevin about that, and I think that'd be really helpful, and it needs to have something there. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a quick question on Miller Farm. It's just related to the traffic study that we're, do we have the traffic study back on?
Miller Farm's been done.
And-
I can send that to
And
you.
then isn't there one with Arrowhead as well? They're gonna be
Arrowhead is
combined?
not complete. There's a
Okay.
preliminary that's been done, but it's not complete.
Okay,
And I can share with you the preliminary
okay.
if you'd like to see it. It's a big, huge probably better you drop by.
Use AI to summarize it for me?
Yeah, run it through.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, as we're, I'm concerned with the traffic in general in the village. It's picking up, it seems, on a weekly basis. More and more folks coming through, and, yeah, it's just a concern of mine and the neighbors around me.
Okay, yeah. So Arrowhead was passed at the last council meeting. Basically, at this point, I'm awaiting payment of the invoice for all the plan checks and everything by Romanelli, and once I receive that, I'll issue the formal approval from the village. Other than that, some high-level things in the permits. There was a revision for the 405 Osprey Drive property. Originally, it had a morning room attached to it, and they wanted to take that away. We talked about the demolition permit for 42 West Columbus Street, and there was also a lot line adjustment for 50 Front Street. That property is being sold, and the building was actually encroaching on the neighboring lot, so they split it off so that there's a little strip behind it to make sure that it's all on its own parcel. The only other big thing to talk about is the Alta Fiber and Bright Speed right-of-way projects. Basically, everything right now is fully in progress. There are 2 additional permits that they submitted for that it will take place out at the Walnut Creek development. So, Allison, you can tell your friends. But other than that, Alta Fiber has actually been very good to work with so far in the process. They've been very forthcoming about any revisions that have been needed. One thing I just worked with them on today, they originally had a bunch of crossovers planned to bore under Walnut Street, and part of doing that is they have to pothole wherever they're crossing a utility line with their boring to make sure they don't hit it. And they realized, well, this means we're going to have to punch 14 holes in the street. So why don't instead we just run a fiber line down each side of the street and eliminate all the crossovers? And I said, great idea. So they sent revisions back to us for that, and I noticed a few other spots where I don't want them crossing over as well. So I pointed that out on their drawings and sent it back to them. And even before that happened, the actual site manager with that specific crew called me on the way into the office this morning and was making sure that he understood the pavement standards that we demanded to make sure that the repairs were done right if they did the potholing. So he apparently wasn't informed to that point that they were no longer going to take that route, but I was appreciating him making sure he had his facts straight before cutting into the road. So that's a plus. They've been really good with the people on site. There's been a couple of times where we've had resident feedback of where certain infrastructure items, they don't really want them there, so they've gone back to their design team to make a design that works for everybody. So that's a good thing, and the other good part of it is all these interactions that we're having with Alta Fiber is prepping us for all the interactions that we're going to have with Brightspeed here in the next month or so. So I'm expecting the Brightspeed kickoff to be much smoother than the Alta Fiber one was, and at the end of it, we'll have good internet service options for the whole village. And they are also branching out into Miller Farm as well. So the good thing about this project also being in the Sunbury area, and I think down into Westerville, is it has enabled them to branch into areas of the village that they might have neglected otherwise. They're taking the time to go out into Miller Farm. They're taking the time to go out into the retreats at Dustin, the whole bit. They're right next to it, so I'd be surprised if they don't. That we just don't permit that particular spot, so we'll see. But but yeah, it's all going very well so far. So
Couple questions for you, Matt.
sure.
What's the timeline of these guys getting done?
Well,
Because they're all over the road.
a lot of that is weather dependent. And part of it is also, daylight dependent. So basically, they've committed to only digging holes for what they're able to get completed that day. That way there's no, trenches or anything. Not trenches, that's a bad term because they're not trenching anything. But you get my point. There's not going to be an open hole in the ground that somebody can fall into and get hurt. I actually just spoke with them about the work on the square, I think yesterday. And by the square, I mean the front of the businesses on Columbus Street. They were going to get started on those in the next couple of weeks, and they're looking at the weather going, it's not really going to be conducive for concrete, so I think they're going to push that out a little bit to make sure that they can do it right when they do it. So ultimately, between both providers, I would think it would probably get finished up somewhere around the end of March, mid-April, somewhere in there. But they're hitting it all heavy now. The second half of the project is when they're actually just out pulling cables and things like that. So this is the beginning stage is the annoying part, and then the second phase is less intensive.
Do we know if they're using the exact same boxes? Everybody's got a box like in the back of their lot usually that where like Spectrum is or whatever. Are they using the same boxes? They have their own.
No, they have their own.
So they're putting an additional box back there, and that's probably what people are upset about.
Well, I don't remember which provider off the top of my head because I was permitting them at the exact same time, so the facts kind of run together a bit. But there was one company that was doing some of their runs behind the properties, and that was mostly in the, gotta get this right here, Arrowhead Lakes area, out in there where Zor Street and everything is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other company is just going straight in front and boring in the actual right-of-way areas. And there's pros and cons to both. There's less going on in the rear easements for telecom, so they have a little bit more freedom there. But at the same time, that also means they got to drag a big, heavy piece of equipment through people's yards, so it actually tears the yards up worse. Whereas if they're doing it in the front, they basically have to, drive over the sidewalk and bore their hole and move on. So it's good and bad, but they're trying to do it in a way that impacts everybody as little as possible. And one thing to point out too is they have committed to either say somebody's dog fence gets messed up or their irrigation lines get cut or something like that. They have a way that residents can report that, and then they can either hire whatever contractor installed it, and Altafiber and Brightspeed will reimburse them for that expense, or they will just hire a contractor and take care of the repair, but the resident won't have to face any expenses.
Turn
for
your
any
receipt in
damage.
type of deal.
What's that?
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
put a finer point on this. So Matt's had me join several calls with Altafiber and Brightspeed. So the finer point I put on it is Altafiber is the guys that are running through the front easements. They have a box and we asked them to move it because it's going to be up in communities of Galena. We asked them to move it to a public space where the power lines are, the mailboxes are, and so they agreed to move it.
Good call.
Brightspeed doesn't have a box. They're the ones running in the back. Everything will be flush to the ground that they're doing is what they told us. Because I was specifically concerned it'd be some ugly box in somebody's yard. Okay, so that's part of
That's good.
the answer. The other thing, if people are talking to you, residents that have dog fences or irrigation systems, they should notify the provider to come out and inspect, because when they're placing the flags in your yards, that's just for the basic utilities.
Yeah.
They will come out, if it's requested by the homeowner, they'll come out and flag all of that and avoid that, so you don't have to go to the oh, you broke something and can you fix it? So the proactive way to do it is to reach out and have
Get
them
it
come
marked
and
as well?
Get it marked.
Yep. Or if you know where it is, mark it yourself with some flags or something.
That puts a lot on the resident.
What's that?
That puts a lot on the resident. That's a lot of steps for them to go through. And if they break a line or they do something, they should fix it within a certain amount of time, which is at least 24 hours. If it's something they have to have, it should be less. Yeah, because I'm 74. I don't want to go through that hassle. I just want them to fix it. And I'm not going to go out there and do my lines. And they shouldn't bring a box to my house unless I want the item. Right, and that's the point. But this company it should be an automatic process.
But just think
It's
about
in the
this from a
water.
business point of view, right? One of the conversations we had with those groups is, we know and you know that if you are doing things that the residents start to talk and get on Facebook and everything else, they may not buy your service. So they want to do the best they possibly can.
Well, everyone does. That's why they have a business. The point is, though, there should be a process in place that if they break something or they do something, it should be fixed by them. Yeah,
There is.
and the community, the people in the community should not have to be worrying about whether there's they should know this. They have detectors.
These are both very big companies.
Oh, I know.
So they have the processes, they have all that.
I just got my gas line pulled from my house, my rental, because it was kinked. And they said, oh, we'll be there.
Last question, I promise.
Yeah.
How deep are these, Matt?
Typically, it's around 3 feet, somewhere in there. They have to make sure they're not.
So they're going pretty deep. Okay.
They have to make sure that they're not interfering with any of the other lines. So that's why you see your water taps marked. I marked all the sewer lines. They're not going to be nearly that deep, but I thought, well, better safe than sorry. And actually, I think a lot of people thought where I was marking the sewer runs that go the length, I think they were thinking that's where the fiber lines were going to go. So I actually have on my board downstairs, I'm going to put together, hopefully before we get to summer, a little guide of like what all the OOPS markings mean. And none of them actually mean this is where the digging's going to happen. It just means
Well, if you look at the little
there's a
flags, it
sewer
tells
line
you.
here, or there's a water line here, or there's an electric run, or whatever. Like,
I've had to go look at a couple of little flags just to find out. I'm like, oh, that's where my gas line is. Okay.
yeah.
You run
And
into
then you have to
problems
worry
when
about
they
if you have
use
the
the
right
wrong
color
colors.
flags. It's a whole thing. But yeah, that kind of made me go, well, maybe we should have something out there so people know a little bit better. So it's on my list.
Since I typically am working with AT&T with my job, I typically find some of the stuff, or I do the actual OOPS tickets for AT&T transmissions. And so I run into problems where people are using the wrong color flags for the wrong utilities. So like the one time we had these like deep red flags and it was sewer. It's supposed to be a dark green.
Yes.
So the entire route had these red flags, which is supposed to be electric, and it was sewer.
Yes.
Sanitary sewer.
Yep, we actually had the wrong color ones for a little bit, so I was
Educating
making
these young
notes
men
that said,
anymore, I don't know who's
these are what they
educating
are.
them.
Okay, this is a really big problem. This is large. So at Sambuca's, there's a hole like this going down the street. My little car went kaboom. It's a big hole. There's a big hole there. It needs
All
patched.
the pothole by
Yeah.
San Luca? Okay.
I'm potholing.
No, we need to know. Is there
Well,
one?
I'm going to bring the bill to you for my right tire.
No.
It's,
Oh, lovely.
It's really close to Walnut Street and Route 3. It's just as you come on the continuous right turn almost.
Okay,
Oh,
when you're turning out towards Kroger,
You
coming
know,
out.
you're turning off Route 3 on
That's
Walnut
ODOT.
Street.
Oh. Just right about the end of where the village responsibility is, and it changes to ODOT.
Yeah.
And then southbound lane on Walnut Street is what she's talking
and it's a big hole. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm,
it's-
I,
it's a
yeah.
It's
I'm sending you my bill for my realignment.
it started as a foot, now it's about 3 foot across.
Why?
But it's probably an ODOT, it's probably an ODOT road.
So you need a Jeep or you need an F-150.
Yeah, I try to run it right down the middle. That way we don't have to worry about it.
My tires hurt.
Thanks for letting me know.
Okay.
That
Just
makes
don't
me
use the
think of one
Jaguar.
other question, Jeff. I I have one other question as a resident from my neighborhood asked this week, and I should have brought it up earlier, but we had another car accident at Vans Valley and Joe Walker on the curve on Thursday when we got that little bit of precipitation transportation. So I know you had some plans of, how that curve might be smoothed out or ways to reroute Joe Walker. I didn't know if there was any other conversations going on. Our Facebook page was alight with fury about that intersection, so I said I would ask.
So since you brought up that intersection, I've actually been traveling towards Galena on Vans Valley, and somebody went straight through to Joe Walker right in front. I mean, I had to slam them on. And I mean, there's even a sign there that says you have to yield, but I didn't think it's kind of small.
No, actually, a roundabout would be the best solution, the safest solution, but I know they're
'Cause
expensive.
I know there was a plan with Miller Farm, but something,
That plan.
something happened
Something
with
happened.
us, Delaware County and MI.
Well, no,
I think it was Delaware. Was it
So
the other party?
if I bottom line it, here's what happened. So the development plan and the traffic study had some solution to the curve in it, all the way up to the point that it was all finalized and signed off on by people before us. So, so it never got in there. So well, I don't know how that happened. I tried to trace all the emails. You couldn't find enough of the evidence. So you had, spotty stuff. I've taken it several times, and this has been a year ago now. I haven't really looked at it in the last year. But, with ODOT and with, with the county. And the county's holding some dollars that I think it's like 380 or something in that neighborhood, to do something to benefit the development, but it's in the county's hands. So you say, well, right? So maybe we could revisit it, but I just haven't looked at it in a year because they basically told me they're not convinced that there's enough.
Would it be helpful to encourage our residents to submit a complaint to ODOT or the
Well,
county?
what if you had a petition you got everybody to sign and give it to us, give it to
Okay.
me, then I'll get it up to the county engineer.
Okay,
Do something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
we could do that.
Okay. Anything else on the zoning report?
Nothing further.
Okay, are you done there, Matt?
Yep.
Did you cover it all? Okay. Well, the next meeting is February 18th at 7 PM. I think we're hoping to have an open hearing if we get there, if we can get far enough on
Yep.
this with Mr. Hollis.
It's currently scheduled, and we can always cancel if need be.
Yeah,
But
I think just to be proactive, you
Yep.
put it on the, but we have to take a few steps and get a little further. All right, and other than that, anything else? A motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seth motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned at 8, what is that, 24 PM?
Yeah.